Bansang nagkakaisa, sama-samang babangon muli. Yan ang isusulong ng administrasyon ni Pangulong Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. Magandang gabi, Pilipinas. Ako po si Attorney Mico Clavano at ito ang The Chatroom. Sa bagong administrasyon, we have one of the most powerful women in our country in information technology to spearhead the agency in enforcing effective tax collections, penalties, fines, and digitalization. Bureau of Internal Revenue Commissioner Lilia Guillermo. Good evening, ma'am, and welcome to the show.
Good evening, Attorney Mico, at sa mga sumusubaybay sa iyo.
Magandang gabi po. Before we go into yung mga issues po natin sa BIR, we'd like to get to know you a bit more personally, if that's okay.
Yeah?
So, just to start things off, ano po yung mga, ma'am, what are the things that you want people to know about you na hindi pa nila alam? What are your hobbies?
Well, first of all, I want the people to know that for the past more than 40 years, I've been a public servant. And during those 40 years, I'm a working mom, a working wife. Pero I hope na nabalanse ko ang pagiging career woman and a family wife, family person. And alam kong naintindihan naman ako ng aking loving husband and one daughter. So that's my family life. Sa career naman, I started as a BIR statistician way back 1977. And then I rose from the ranks and become the Deputy Commissioner of Information Systems Group. Then I rose again as Undersecretary of the Department of Budget and Management. And before I returned back to BIR, I was the Assistant Governor of Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. Very long.
That's
Really.
a very impressive resume, ma'am. And how are you able to balance that, ma'am, with your family life? I know you have a husband and one daughter.
Yeah, and I said nga, they're very understanding. And my husband is with the private sector. Sabi niya, sige, ikaw sa government, siya sa private sector. And my daughter understands. Isa lang naman siya, mas madaling... So, that's it, no? And I see to it that I have time, especially during weekends, I have time for my family. Now, when my daughter was small, we live near our parents. My mother is around the corner, so that when I leave my daughter, she's around. And she takes care of my daughter.
Ma'am, what is your parenting style over your daughter?
Actually, unfortunately, meron siyang yaya. And yun, mahirap talaga, no? Kung working wife ka and then you do the details of taking care of her. Meron siyang yaya. And yun na nga, I see to it that I have time after work and during weekends.
I see. And ma'am, given your very impressive resume, no, how did you prepare for that as a student? Ano po yung course nyo nung college and how were you as a student?
Yeah, as mentioned, well, in the University of the Philippines, I was a Caltech scholar. So yung pagiging scholar ko, nakuha ko dahil ang mother ko was working with Caltex then. And Caltex, the criteria for that is to pass the UP exams. So, under scholarship ako, and I studied BS Statistics in UP. And then after that, I took up my master's in industrial engineering. That's why I went to systems and IT, also in the University of the Philippines. So I owe a lot to government. That's why maybe I have been working for the government for the last 40 years.
It was always a dream for you, ma'am, to enter into public service?
Maybe it was not a dream, but a payback time. For early nga yung payback ko, no? Early nga, pero siguro it's because when the former, and he passed away now, Efrem Plana, he wanted to professionalize the Bureau of Internal Revenue. Therefore, he wrote letters to the UP-BS statistics because I think the research team there, the statisticians are not statisticians, they are pharmacists, and he wanted to professionalize, so I was one of those. And I came to like the job, and that's actually after that, I came into management audit because of systems and processes in the BIR. Therefore, yun na nga, medyo when I was offered the position, hindi naman ako bago sa BIR. And I know a lot there.
Yeah. Ano naman po yung mga hobbies nyo during your free time? Kasi yung trabaho niyo po, very technical. I'm sure it racks your brain. Pero ano ba yung ginagawa niyo sa free time niyo po?
Medyo malaking belt structure ko, no? So,
Yun naman po.
I go to the gym. In fact, doon ko nakilala po yung husband ko.
Wow.
Anyway, so yun, I do aerobics. Yeah. Sometimes I go ballroom dancing, and I have to maintain, hindi lang maintain, I have to, dapat nga magpaliit.
How about one talent ho na hindi alam ng mga tao na meron ka?
One talent?
Singing, dancing.
No, I don't sing. Yan ang yan yung talent na hindi ko dapat ilabas. Mahihiya daw yung aking pamilya, but my husband sings and my daughter sings.
Oh, I see. And we'll get to know more about BIR Commissioner Lilia Guillermo when we return here at the chat room.
Check out your dream machines with veteran journalist Ron De Los Reyes in one of the longest-running motoring shows on Philippine television. Auto Review, Saturday afternoons, only here on PTV.
Nagbabalik ang The Chat Room, and let's get to know more about the next taxman who is a woman. Bureau of Internal Revenue Commissioner Lilia Guillermo. Ma'am, let's talk more about your appointment now. What was your reaction ho nung in-appoint ho kayo ni President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr.?
Actually, it did not come from the President himself. It came from a recommendation by Secretary Ben Jokno. We were together sa BSP. Okay, he was the one instrumental to being an assistant governor of BSP. So I was in Washington when that news came out, and I said, okay, when I come back, I will talk to the secretary, the reasons why medyo maganda na po yung aking career sa Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. Kasi nga, pupunta siya sa DOF, and he wanted digitalization as his priority in BIR. And sabi niya, marami raw kaming nagawa sa BSP, and he wanted me to do the same sa BIR. So if the Secretary of Finance reason is public service, perhaps that's also my reason. I am a public servant, and I wanted to finish my career in government.
And ma'am, how did your position as Assistant Governor of the BSP prepare you for this role as now BIR Commissioner?
Actually, I was in charge of the technology and digital innovation in BSP. So it's not about taxation there. But I was the former Deputy Commissioner of the Bureau of Internal Revenue, also dealing with IT. When you deal with information systems, you deal with knowing the entire processes that is happening in the organization. So madali pong i-apply in technology and digitalization in any aspect. Pare-pareho ho yan. Whether it's in banking, it's in internal revenue, whether it's in education or things like that. We know the technology and how to use it.
I think technology will also play a role in curbing corruption? Because, you know, the Presidential Anti-Corruption Commission, which, as we all know, was just abolished, labeled or named the BIR as one of the most corrupt agencies thus far. How would you like to address this issue?
Well, that's quite unfortunate to generalize that all the people in BIR is corrupt. No? Let me tell you that for me, no, I understand that corruption is more on the audit and the investigation side. And let me tell you that the collections of BIR, 97% of that come from voluntary compliance and only 3% comes from audit and investigation. Therefore, and people working on audit and investigation is only a very small portion of those working to improve voluntary compliance. Therefore, I don't think and that is my objective now, to make sure that there will be a change, an improvement in the image of the Bureau of Internal Revenue. When I left the Bureau of Internal Revenue, I saw that it has changed already because we started with technological improvements. We started with the no-contact audit. We started with matching of third-party data to the tax return, such that letters of authority, that is the letter to authority to audit, will come out automatically from the computer. And now I heard that just some, very few letters of authority come out manually. Therefore, that is where the subjectivity comes in, or maybe that's where some type of corruption comes in. But we have suspended, when I came in, the audit and investigation was suspended. Therefore, we have to, again, clear the matters. The tendency or the temptation should be minimized.
Aside from that, ma'am, ano pa po yung gusto nyong baguhin sa mga sistema po ng BIR?
Alam mo, yung digital transformation na sinasabi in BIR has started way back when we mandated large taxpayers to do electronic filing and payment. Mandated sila. So all of them, the large taxpayers, are already doing electronic filing. Maybe ang kailangan kong gawin is to upgrade the systems, use new technologies, IT, at nag-umpisa na rin during the time of Secretary Dominguez and the past commissioner. Nag-umpisa na yung tinatawag nilang digital transformation, and I will continue those applications on digital transformation. Upgrade namin ang infrastructure, and the difference between BSP and BIR now is BSP has enough resources, but the BIR has a budget to, it depends on the national government.
Ma'am, alam ko po marami kayong na-inherit din ng mga issues that have yet to be resolved. And if you don't mind me stating a few and then getting your comment on it. What can you say, ma'am, about the estate tax of the Marcoses and how will you deal with it?
Can I refer that to the Secretary of Finance when you interview him?
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Thank you.
And almost 13 trillion in debt. How do you intend to address this issue, ma'am? What are your priorities? 13 trillion in debt?
The Philippines.
Yes, ma'am. The country's debt.
The BIR's target now is 2.46 trillion. So it's only a small portion of that budget, of that debt. However, that debt is to be paid in 25 years. I don't know, but for 2022, the 2.46 trillion coming from BIR will help a lot to pay that debt. And the first week I was in BIR, I had a meeting, a command conference, Zoom. No, I don't have to call the people from the provinces, and they committed to me that we will surpass the 2.46 trillion. And I told them, magkakasama tayo, magkakakilala tayo, so tulungan niyo ako. And that's for the country, no? Not for any other reason, but for the country. And yeah, they promised, not promised, they committed.
Ma'am, this is an interesting one kasi ito yung one of the, I guess, bigger issues, especially na ngayon nasa digital or technological age na tayo. How will you now impose taxes on online sales? Yung mga nasa Facebook, yung mga nasa Instagram ho?
Merong bill ngayon on taxing digital services where the services are coming from the international arena. Actually, nasa batas natin na situs, no? May situs siyang kaya meron tayong babaguhin sa batas na kapag ang service is consumed in the Philippines, pero kahit galing sa labas or internationally, dapat meron silang VAT. So in that case, yung bill na yon, ipaparehistro natin sila dealing with online services that are outside the Philippines. So matataksa na po natin sila. That's one. And I hope that comes out of Congress. Ngayon yung mga online selling, kahit hindi galing sa international yung mga products nila, we will go after them. Facebook, maraming influencers, di ko ba? Marami ring online selling na nangyayari. And dito, meron tayong tinatawag na big data. Okay? Nakikita mo na, di ba sa Facebook, meron kang mag-like ka lang,
comment po.
Oo, mag-comment. The volume gives them income. Alam mo ba yun? May income. Yan, influencers na yan.
Lalo na sa YouTube, no?
Yes, YouTube.
Mga subscribers nila.
Pero mga Pilipino sila, di ba? Nandito sila. We will go after them.
Ma'am, there's this sentiment, no, na ang dami na talagang buwis, ang dami ng taxes, impositions, and everything, na parang lahat na lang ng kikitain ng mga mamamayan natin napupunta na lang daw sa buwis. Of course, that's the common theme, and we've seen that throughout, no? What would you say to that? Na
sa mga citizens natin?
Yes, ma'am.
Ako, nakikita ko na marami ng, lalo na sa build. Siguro naman nakikita rin niya ng ating mga kababayan, nag-improve ang ating traffic because of the Skyway, the new Skyway. Madali nang pumunta pupunta ako noon sa BSP, nag-i-Skyway ako, ang bilis na, no? Wala na yung traffic na dinadaanan ko sa Quezon Ave. Pagpunta sa Baguio, pagpunta sa Tagaytay, mabilis na. And part of our taxes go there. I mean, marami na ring bagong, if you will look at the airports, school buildings, mga ayuda, galing lahat yan sa taxes that the citizen pay. Ngayon, yung mga citizens natin, sana wag silang na part of their income, we have a fair share to government. Yan ang way of, siguro, maganda sa loob natin na yung kinikita natin, part of that goes to government and it goes to like that's buildings, flood control, marami. I hope that they understand that. Ngayon kami naman at bilang namumuno sa BIR, gagawin ho namin ang lahat para mapangalagaan naman yung taxes na binibigay ninyo sa bansa.
That's really great to hear. Para makita naman ng mga tao kung saan napupunta yung mga buwis niyan.
Yes. Pangangalagaan namin yan. Bibigay namin yan sa Treasury.
Yes, ma'am. At mas mabibigat pang issue ang ating tatalakayin. Kasama pa rin si BIR Commissioner Lilia Guillermo sa pagbabalik ng The Chatroom.
Disaster Watch. Mga dapat tandaan pagkatapos ng lindol, pagkatapos ng pagyanig, lumabas ng maayos. Huwag gamitin ang elevator. Suriin ang sarili at mga kasamahan. Kung may natamong sugat, patayin ang main switch ng kuryente at tubig. Pati na rin ang tangking LPG. Makinig sa balita at maghanda sa mga posibleng aftershock. Huwag malito. Dapat laging listo.
And we're back here at the chat room, and with us tonight, BIR Commissioner Lilia Guillermo. Ma'am, I'd just like to ask, 3 weeks ka pa lang sa position, how's the turnover or the transition been?
Last June 27, that's before June 30, nag-turnover sa akin si Commissioner Dulay. There was a smooth turnover. Lahat ng mga proyekto na natapos at kailangan naming i-sustain at i-maintain, yan ang aking pinag-iisipan, how to sustain. Kasi maraming magandang proyekto na itutuloy ko. May mga proyekto na kailangan pang umpisahan. At again, I will study that. And that is digital transformation. So natutuwa ako na may momentum ngayon sa BIR. And maybe, the COVID helps, no? Kasi naging digitally transformed sila kasi they have to work from home, they have to be at home with their laptops and with the, isang ang gagawin ko is 1:1 na magiging laptops, no? Hindi natin alam kung babalik tayo ulit sa work from home.
Sana hindi.
Pero sana hindi. And alam mo, tuwa nga ako na dati noon, hindi lahat wants to make tinkle on their computers. Ngayon lahat marunong na. And i-improve ko na lang yung capabilities nila na ano ba talaga ang detailed use of a digitally transformed workforce, no? Trainings, webinars, examinations kung whether talaga naintindihan nila, we will do that. Not only on digital transformation, seminars, webinars, or some seminars on moral transformation also. And values formation.
Before the show, nag-usap ho tayo about yung digitalization plans ho natin. And you mentioned na meron na pong in place na mga plano from the former administration at gusto niyo pang i-improve yung mga systems na yun.
Yes.
Can you discuss a little more about that? Kung ano yung gusto niyong i-improve pa dun sa mga current plans natin?
Unang-una sa expansion ng tax base natin, no? We have to expand our tax base. Kailangan namin humanap ng additional registrants para naman magdagdag sila sa pag-file ng returns nila and pay the corresponding taxes. Ngayon, one way is third-party information. So, exchange of information using technology, hindi maraming papel. So, merong sistema na pwedeng gawin to exchange information from DTI, from the LGU, and everything. So that's one of the expansion of database. Ngayon sa online filing and online payment, actually, very minimal na lang ang nagfa-file manually. Ito siguro yung mga one-time transaction na nagbenta siya ng ari-arian, hindi na yan naka-online. Pero yung mga regular, halos lahat naka-online. Ang problema nga lang minsan, ang complaint is naghahang yung system because lalong-lalo na pag nagkakasabay-sabay, that is what I want to improve, infrastructure. Okay? So cloud technology is one way that we can improve the infrastructure. Of course, alam ko may gastos dyan. But yung gastos sa technology, we do not treat that as an expense but more of an investment. So, dapat meron niyang return on investment and alam ko na digitization is an answer really to such objective, no? To give efficient service to the taxpayer by giving less paper, streamlined processes, streamlined forms. Ganyan.
Meron ba kayong timeline kung kailan ho ito may implement fully?
Actually, approximately there's a total of 49 projects. 50% of that projects already are ongoing, na roll out na. The rest of the 50% I will have in 2 years' time. So I suppose ang problema natin ngayon is really sustainability and maintenance of all these systems at budget. And I hope that we'll get the corresponding budget for that. Yes. Alam ni Secretary Ben na medyo kailangan tuunan ng pansin. Cybersecurity is one. So kapag may mga online transactions tayo, kailangan improve natin ang taong namamahala sa cybersecurity.
And I think, ma'am, if Congress agrees with you that it's an investment and not an expense.
Yes.
Mukhang papasa naman siguro yung budget.
Sana po. Sana po. At nakausap ko na rin si DBM Secretary. Sinabi niya, we will support but mangolekta daw ako. Ganun lang yun.
Yun yung trade-off
Ikot
po
lang
ba?
yun eh.
Would you happen to have any new policies na gusto niyo pong i-implement sa BIR?
Actually, alam mo, yung sa corruption nga sinasabi, ang suspended ang letters of authority, suspended ang investigation ngayon.
Okay.
Nagpa-inventaryo ako lahat. Sabi ko, yung mga magpe-prescribe na, tapusin nyo. Yung open case, after the ones prescribing, yung open cases naman, bago, new cases. Dito sa new cases, I will see to it that it's the machine that chooses taxpayers to audit. Kasi sabi nga ng mga taxpayer, bakit daw taon-taon iniimbestigahan sila. Now, I'm thinking of a risk-based audit and automated at that. Thinking of benchmarking by sector, by industry, and we have to make sure that the benchmarks are realistic enough. Yun ang medyo, dati na umpisahan na yan pero natigil eh. I-ano ko lang.
Ma'am, ito po, 3 weeks ka pa lang po sa position. What do you think your biggest challenge will be in your term as BIR Commissioner?
Alam mo, when I met with them, wala akong challenge of support from the BIR staff. Commitment from, wala akong challenge doon kasi lahat sila makikikooperate. Ang real challenge ko talaga is resources. Okay? Siguro maitanong mo, kumusta ba yung right sizing? Ganyan. Hindi kami downsizing, right sizing. Marami pa akong gustong, pinaimbentaryo ko ang mga bakante sa BIR. Ilang taon ng bakante yan? Sasabihin ko, hindi niyo pala kinailangan yung mga positions na yan in the past 5 years, alisin na lang natin. So, scrap and build. Hindi pagka na-scrap ko yan, amin pa rin yan, pero with a different type of position. Like data scientists, data analysts, cybersecurity experts. Yan ang medyo challenge ko. Kung kunyari, nabigyan naman ako, meron kayang kukuha dahil sa sweldo ng gobyerno, alam mo, mga highly technical sila, no?
Yes.
So kung wala akong makuha, I will outsource. Sige, bayad ako, pero magpa-public bidding ako dyan.
Okay. Yeah, that's the way to go, ma'am. No?
Right, that's the way to go. And I think that's the biggest challenge I have now, resources.
Magbabalik po ang The Chatroom.
Numbers, facts, insightful analyses, and context on information for a better perspective.
Developing stories in the country and around the world. The most current news and issues that are relevant to today's times.
Get a rundown of it all every night, only here on PTV News Tonight.
Nagbabalik ang The Chatroom. Kasama pa rin po natin, Bureau of Internal Revenue Commissioner Lilia Guillermo. Ma'am, so it's 3 weeks in. Ano po yung plano niyo for the first 100 days?
Bali, nabanggit ko na sa'yo, in the first 100 days, nag-aayos ako ng mga inventaryo ngayon eh. Inventaryo ng ilan ba ang letters of authority na magpa-prescribe, inventaryo ng mga accounts receivable, inventaryo ng vacant positions, ganon. And aside from that, that's administrative. Aside from that, iniinventaryo rin namin yung mga naiwang programa, and pagkatapos ipa-prioritize namin to the best of our resources. Okay? So, meron akong tinatawag na fast tracking versus long term. Siguro yung fast tracking is really ano ang pwede naming matapos itong 2022. Kasi meron pa naman, shall I say, if I finish the 6 years, meron pa namang 5 years. So the first 100 days is really fast tracking yung mga doable na meron kaming makikitang effect. Yung bang samples na pwede naming sabihin na we mean business. Okay? So that is, let's say, samples of erring employees na terminate, samples of erring taxpayers naman na napaparusahan dahil ganon. Yan yung kasi dandun sa inventaryo yung matagal nang nakabinbin, hindi ko alam kung bakit hindi matapos-tapos. So yan po ang tutuunan ko ng pansin ngayon. And sigurang isa pa is really, dumating ako sa agency, ang daming officer in charge. So wala talagang, para bang kapag sinabi mo lahat officer in charge, walang ownership nung posisyon na inaano nila. Unang-una, aayusin ko sino ba talaga ang qualified to that position at bigyan na natin ng posisyon, di ba? Medyo nagtatagal yun, hindi ko alam. So, mga doable yan Attorney Miko. I hope hindi mahaba ang 100 days.
I guess medyo figure of speech lang ho yung 100 days. Mga unang plano lang ho, di ba? Ma'am, what are your first steps to, I guess, fulfill the promise of digitalization, no? We all know that it's a big task for you to digitalize. What can you promise the Filipino people? Your message to them about your whole plan, your whole term in office?
Babalik ako sa aming vision, service excellence with honesty and integrity. So service excellence means that we will offer to them services that make it easy for them to comply with the tax laws. Make it transparent and make sure that hindi namin sila pahihirapan to comply with the tax laws. Doon naman sa audit, I will provide yung mga may complaints. Easy for you to complain. Meron kaming chatbot na parang robot sa aming website called Revi. Lagay niyo po lahat doon ang complaints ninyo, pero names. Minsan nahirapan kami sa complaints na hindi naman yung sinasabi sino yung kino-complain nyo. So, iyan ang mga doables na pwede kong ipangako to tell them that we are towards improving really the image of BIR. Another thing is capability building ng mga taga-BIR on lahat sila digitally transformed workforce para naman maturuan namin yung taxpayers na maging digital transformation is not only for our agency, it's for the entire country. Ayun ang medyo natutuwa ako, it's happening.
And with that, we're done with the interview. I'd like to thank you so much for visiting us here sa the Chatroom, ma'am. BIR Commissioner Lilia Guillermo. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Maraming salamat, Attorney Miko, and maraming salamat sa mga sumusubaybay kay Attorney Miko. Sana po narinig niyo po ang mensahe ng Bureau of Internal Revenue.
Good luck. Malaki ang papel na ginagampanan ng mga kalihim ng gabinete bilang tagapayo sa ating Pangulo sa iba't ibang mga gawain ng Estado. At bilang responsableng mamamayan, mahalagang magkaroon din tayo ng malawak na kaalaman tungkol sa pamahalaan at sa mga pangyayari sa ating bansa. Kaya naman, ugaliing tumutok dito sa The Chatroom. Ako po si Attorney Miko Clavano. Magandang gabi, Pilipinas.